Hello and welcome to part 2 of Ruby on Rails tutorial series. So in part 1 we decided the basic structure of our blog application. So in part 2 we are going to start implementing it. So let's do it. So this is our blog plan to create this controllers and model and tables. So let's get started. So let's have a look at the Rails server which Rails provide by default for development purposes. So, so boot into the Puma Rails server minus P flag, which is going to provide it a port to which Rails is going to render this application, and we will be choosing port 8000 for this. Let's try again, and we have successfully ported the Puma server. So let's visit localhost colon 8000 to view our application. So let me resize this a bit. And localhost 8000. Okay, yeah, you are on Rails. That's just a welcome to Rails page that you will be seeing when you boot into any Rails application that you have just created from scratch. So so it's showing that we are using a Rails version of 5.1.6. So at the time of recording, the actual Rails version that is available is 5.2.0, I guess. So for those guys who are curious to know about where this page came from, so let's have a look at the server logs. So processing by Rails welcome controller index. So where this welcome controller came from? It is actually, as you can see, it is rendering from the gem itself, and it is stored somewhere here at this gem path welcome index.html.erb, and I will be telling you what ERB is. Let's create a controller that we just decided. Let's create a static controller to change our home page. So we can do it by using the Rails generator, or we can do it simply by writing it manually, like create a new file, save it, and I'm going to name it as static controller. Be sure to name it as suffixed as underscore controller so that Rails can recognize it as a controller. Okay, so let's start writing static controller, and this will inherit from application controller, like so. So we have just created a static controller for our application, and this was done manually. So if you want to do the same using Rails generator that Rails provide, so as to minify your effort, we can do it by Rails generator. Let's do it. I'm going into the terminal. Let's write Rails G, that's abbreviated form, or you can write generate controller followed by the name of the controller, static, or you can write it as static, and you can also pass the list of action it is going to have. So I'm going to use an index action. So let's just hit enter, As you can see, it generates a static controller.rb. Notice that I have just wrote static instead of writing it full as static underscore controller. So Rails automatically knows this and it generates static underscore controller.rb. So let's have a look to the controller that Rails has generated. Okay, same same as what we wrote manually. Static, then there is a static controller that inherits from application controller, and notice that it has an action that we supplied as an option here. Write it like this. So this actually hits static controller and index action. By the way, where this template came from is when we generated the controller, we passed in the action that we are going to use. So Rails automatically generates the index action view that is going to be rendered when you visit index action of a static controller. Okay, let's locate this file, and it actually tells where this file is. Find in app use static and index.html.erb. That is app use static and index.html.erb. Let's change the header. Let's delete this for a while and refresh. Welcome to Rails application. Let's change the root of our application. So this line actually tells Rails that whenever user tries to visit the root path or localhost 8080 in our case, redirect it to static controllers index action. So it will be defaultly handled by static controllers index action. Let's see this in browser. Localhost. See. Thank you so much for watching. See you in next one.